hoping is an unvaccinated grandchild. She's due the 1st of May, and then my younger daughter is working on a program in radiology. So,
well, congratulations. It seems like both of you have done phenomenal with raising your children, and just such an inspiration to moms like me out there going, my gosh, if you guys can do it, what do I complaining about?
And our kids are Nazis about, they've all become sort of these homeopathic Nazis and tell all their friends, you don't really want to put that aspartame in that iced tea, do you?
I love it. Well, now, for those out there, because I know, of course, I've been in the autism community because of my son for about 7.5 years now. And, of course, I've heard about homeopathy, and we've kind of dabbled in it at different points. Never really understood what I was doing. There's different things we had to put in this hand and that hand. And I listened to the rules, because I know it goes back way in ancient times.
Right.
And so that's really what kind of got me realizing that there's something to this, because it was way before we were ever talking about it here in the States. And so one can maybe, for the viewers out there, give a brief description of where it came from, and then maybe define really what it is. If we can.
Yes, at homeopathic conferences, we call it the elevator question. Define homeopathy between floors. And I've never been very good at that. But basically, homeopathy was the brainchild of an MD in Germany over 200 years ago, Samuel Hahnemann. He was tired of the bloodletting, and he was, interestingly and ironically, very upset with the use of mercury, pure metallic liquid mercury. Yes, and it was used commonly to treat syphilis. And then they said, oh, well, if it's good for syphilis, which was sort of the autism of the day, as far as it was the most widespread,
like the epidemic,
and one of the worst things that could happen to people, then they tried it on other things that were a little less serious. So mercury toxicity was a huge issue that he railed against. And he knew there had to be a better way, but because he railed against it as a med school professor, he didn't keep his med school professorship very long. He broke the rules and spoke against his own profession, and ended up doing translations, and because he was also a linguist. And in translating medical texts, he discovered some passages talking about the use of cinchona bark, which is the source of quinine, as a treatment for malaria.
Wow.
And he had some disagreement with some things that were said in the book, so he performed his own experiment called the Great Cinchona Experiment to homeopaths, where he actually chewed on cinchona bark enough that he brought on the symptoms, and the symptoms that came up looked just exactly like the same symptoms you get if you have malaria.
Wow, how scary.
And he knew that when he quit taking it, the symptoms would go away.
Wow.
So that was what's called the first homeopathic proving, which is how we learn what each of our substances as our base substance will, when turned into a homeopathic remedy, then help reverse the symptoms.
It's like the antidote. You have to use the thing that caused it and then use that as the antidote.
Exactly.
Is that right?
It's absolutely the quintessential hair of the dog that bit you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that. It was the birth of he codified the law of similars that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like treats like. And that is the basic principle of all homeopathy. So you have to know what the substance in the crude form brings on in a healthy person in order to find out what it will fix in a sick person who presents with those same symptoms. So that was the basis of all homeopathy. And classical homeopathy is the basis of everything that we do, but then we have now gone into sequential homeopathy, where we don't just try to find one remedy that matches all of our clients' symptoms, because we know
not a one-size-fits-all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with children with autism, we know we have viral disorders, we have bacterial disorders, we have toxicity disorders, yeast, metals, you name it, and they're going to show some symptoms at different times of each of these. So what we do as sequentialists is we go back through the layers or the events, because any holistic practitioner understands that you didn't just get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Your sickness, especially where chronic things are concerned, is the sum total of everything that came before. So everything is one straw after another until one finally breaks the camel's back. Well, we start at the broken back.
It's like you're almost peeling an onion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And psychology has done that for a very long time. So we take one layer at a time, one event, and work our way back. And the body then does the work. The immune
Wonderful.
system has all of its own tools, and all we do is give it the signals of what to look for, and then a little help along the way on a daily basis to help the system pull up the symptoms that it needs to eliminate.
Now, with homeopathy, can you use that in combination with biomedical treatment, like traditional biomedical treatments and, other therapies that people use?
It depends on what it is. Most of the time you can. Certainly supplements work well. We encourage probiotics and enzymes and omegas and a lot of the good supplements that the kids' guts just...
They are desperate for.
They are desperate for. Their guts aren't absorbing it naturally out of their food, and they need the supplements. The things we can't work with are the antibiotics, the antifungals, the antibacterials, antibiotics, the antivirals, because they're working polar opposite to what the homeopathy is trying to do.
Okay.
So that's where we have to do some trade-offs. And but we work with a lot of Dan docs and a lot of people who are seeing a Dan doc as well as coming to us. So.
And just for you guys, if you don't know what a Dan doc is, it stands for Defeat Autism Now, and actually it's called Autism Research Institute because they're changing their names over. But
that's an old habit.
Yeah, but for us that have been in the community, that's what we always called them. And so, I just want, just for the viewers that are sitting there going, is a doctor named Dan? I don't know where he is.
Thank you, Kristen.
No, because both of you guys have walked the walk and, have been on those front lines. For those parents out there and the grandparents out there and the aunts and the uncles and the people, because it doesn't just affect just the family, the moms and the dad, having a child, whether it be Tourette's, whether it be Asperger's, autism, whatever that label is, it affects the entire family. Do you have any words of encouragement before we end, letting the families out there know, how did you guys get up and do it and put one leg in and you're getting dressed, I guess, every day. I can't think of what I wanted to say, but you know what I'm trying to say.
It isn't easy because there are days when you feel very defeated and very much at a dead end. But there is hope. There is so much out there. 20 years ago when I was dealing with it, there wasn't a lot out there. And there's so much more hope today. There's so much more help that's available today. And you keep looking, you keep digging, you follow your heart. You never give up on your child, ever. No parent ever gives up on their child, so you never give up on the hope of healing that child.
I like that, the hope of healing. I think that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
Do you have any last words you'd like to say?
I would. One is, these kids are tough, and we get the kids that the parents have tried everything and exhausted themselves and their resources, but the other thing besides never give up is don't assume that your child is too old.
That's good.
We work with kids, there's always kind of been this imaginary line drawn, I think, that, by the time they're 6 or so, then they're irretrievable. And nothing could be further from the truth. We have seen the kids who have been there and done it all. We get the kids that we call the homeopathic virgins that have never done anything else. And we get young kids, old kids. I've worked with one that was 27 years old and changed their life. He wasn't fully recovered, but it did change things so positively in that whole family. And it was very, very touching when the parents said, oh my gosh, we took him to a baseball game. He loved listening to it on the radio, but he couldn't go to the stadium, and they actually took him there, and he didn't come apart. So never, 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 ever give up. And if somebody tells you you don't have hope, they're wrong.
Well, and I think that's important for all of you guys to really listen to what they're saying, because we say kids a lot, but to me, it doesn't matter if you're 2, 52, 92, you're somebody's kiddo out there. And so when we say kids, you hear the word, you hear the terminology children, kids. That's because we're moms, and our kids are always going to be our kids. It doesn't matter what age they are. And so I love that you say it doesn't matter what age. And how do they find you guys? Because I know they're watching right now going, we want to now talk to you guys. How do they find you guys?
We have a website. It's www.homeopathyhouston.com, and it's got intake forms, it's got articles, it's got parent testimonials, and you just start there. It's got our phone number.
And they can call you guys up and make an appointment, and you guys can work with people all over the world, right?
We can.
We actually do work with children. A lot of homeopaths, classical homeopaths, only see people in person. But we have learned that our children aren't at their best when they're in the office anyway. And so we ask for photographs. We used to ask for videos. That day seems to be gone. But DVDs and flip clips and YouTube clips. We have lots of ways to see the kids in their natural setting, and we get to see them at their worst, and we get to see them at their best.
Wonderful.
So we can work very easily over the phone.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I know that the viewers, even myself, I have learned so much just talking with you guys.
Thank you, Kristen.
And
Thank you.
for you guys out there that missed this conference, please make sure again to check out the conference at www.nationalautismassociation.com. Or .org. It's probably either or, I imagine.
I think it's both.
It's both. Well, good. So if I gave you the wrong one, you'll find it one way or the other. And again, thanks to all of you guys for allowing us to bring hope into your homes. Until next time. Bye.
Thank you for joining us for Autism Approved with Kristen Selby Gonzalez. Please join us next week for another episode brought to you by Enzymedica.